Congress is about to task agencies with implementing the new infrastructure plan. That plan will increase the amount of money agencies are managing for infrastructure spending. Robert Shea is former associate director at the Office of Management and Budget. He's currently national managing principal for public policy at Grant Thornton. Robert, nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Mimi.
So give me an idea of which agencies are ramping up and how much money they're going to be managing.
Well, the infrastructure bill is about $1.2 trillion. A lot of that goes to the Department of Transportation, but there are other agencies, Department of Commerce, for instance, that have roles in implementing different facets of the bill.
Do the agencies, do you think, have the resources that they need to really implement this? I'm talking workforce, technology, the skills.
Well, they'll be taxed, to say the least, to meet the responsibilities of this new bill. You look at the Department of Transportation, which annually spends about $25 billion, now has about $300 billion. Now that's not just in 1 year, but even over time, that's a big new responsibility for that department. And you mentioned them, workforce. Everybody's having a challenge recruiting and retaining people, getting contracts out, getting grants out, and unlike many infrastructure bills of the past, this bill creates new programs. So you're talking about, in addition to funneling money through traditional means, standing up whole new programs, whole new stakeholders, constituencies that the agency is going to have to deal with. So, if I had recommendations to make, it would be make sure you've got all the stakeholders at the table rowing in the same direction, know what goals and timelines they have to meet, and be agile so that you're adjusting as new challenges emerge.
Well, you mentioned getting contracts out. How quickly are they going to really need to get these contracts out, and are they going to be able to do that? Do they have the support to get that out?
So it's a mix. Some of these contracts are going to be long-term. Some of these are going to be issued through state, local, private partners. But in the short term, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to need to be issued in contracts really quickly. And as you know, government has a really tough time doing that quickly. They will be taxed. Now, the bill gives the agency heads enormous authority and money to oversee implementation, but I don't know how big the pipes are to get all that money through that quickly. The president issued his management agenda today, which talks about improving the workforce, talks about improving customer experience, talks about building back better, improving our acquisition and financial management. Those are things that are going to help improve the blocking and tackling that agencies are going to need to do to meet the challenges of this new legislation and legislation that's coming down the pike.
Are there any agencies in particular that might have a really hard time getting this done?
Well, you mentioned infrastructure. Congress may be about to enact the Build Back Better legislation, which, in one example, gives the Department of Housing and Urban Development about $150 billion. That's an agency that's traditionally spends about $60 billion a year. That is pretty short term. That does create a bunch of new programs. That's an agency that's had management challenges for many years. So, thinking about standing up the right group of leaders with the right resources to manage on a real-time basis the implementation of this law, the spending of these monies, the engagement with stakeholders. Again, those are the kinds of challenges that agency is going to face.
So, Robert, the White House recently put out an executive order, and it established the Infrastructure Implementation Task Force. How is that supposed to work, and what's it supposed to accomplish?
So, one of the bywords of this administration is whole of government. They want everyone engaged in achieving its priorities. Infrastructure is a major priority. This is an unprecedented, long-awaited investment in the nation's crumbling infrastructure, giving someone chief responsibility for ensuring that the agencies are taking their responsibilities seriously, that they've got a project plan in place and a timeline by which they'll get these resources out the door. That's really important. And you mentioned it's an executive order signed by the president. So this new official has the explicit authority of the president to really bring the resources of the whole of government together to focus on this important priority.
So one last recommendation to an agency head: what do they need to do now to prepare?
Make sure they are ensuring that the agency understands this is a major priority, that they are assigning responsibility to the relevant people, bringing resources to bear on the implementation challenges so that they can execute these new responsibilities as quickly and efficiently and effectively as possible.
All right. Well, Robert, thanks so much. We'll see what happens.
Thanks, Mimi.